Hello, Kenku. I'm glad to have you on another walk. They are quite enjoyable. Even this late in the season, there are still plenty of sights to hear and sounds to try to see. It's also good to get away for a bit. A bit of time away can help make life more manageable and a chance to be the person you wish to be. Actually, those are a couple things I wanted to talk to you about. Now, it is going to get a bit technical, but if you hang in there with me, hopefully catch onto the rhythm, and with a bit of practice, you can meet me at the end. Much like these walks, entertainment can have many purposes. Stimulation, expression, bonding, escapism. Each of these categories can be used in different forms and degrees, from a distraction for an individual to a cross-cultural catharsis. The media form utilized doesn't automatically get categorized the same purposes of entertainment, but certain media do serve different purposes more easily. For instance, knowing something is a game doesn't immediately tell you the purpose of the entertainment. Puzzles and logic games can be thought of as the center of kind of the game category due to their focus on rules and mechanics. They're easiest to make a solo experience for because their entertainment derives almost purely from mental stimulation focused on those rules and mechanics. For the right mind, creating a puzzle can certainly be expressive or escapist, and solving them with a loved one can be used as a bonding exercise, but these tend to be outliers. In a more mixed region of the games genre are interactive games. Interactive games begin to utilize expression and bonding as their main purpose of play is exchange between players and even possible creation of the game by the participants, new facets being added to it or things that are prompted in the game as opposed to simply stated in the rules. Finally, kind of furthest from the purity of puzzles are narrative games. Narrative games open up the category of escapism as one of their attributes of entertainment. The use of storytelling tools allow narrative games to dive into other worlds the way books, plays, and movies do. Role-playing games combine aspects of all of the preceding subcategories of puzzle, interactive, and narrative to utilize the whole suite of entertainment attributes. This buffet of benefits is combined in different portions, allowing media like role-playing games to synergize into greater peaks. One thing that interactive narratives do exceptionally well that combines multiple of these attributes of entertainment is the power fantasy. Power fantasies allow a person to lose themselves in the idea of doing something that they otherwise wouldn't be able to do. They take the mechanics of the game, a stimulant to interact with, and let you create an alter ego, expression, in a secondary world that is free from your own reality, escapism. One of the common power fantasies in video games is the kind of war hero / super soldier. Whether it is slogging your way through a goblin horde or a running gun special forces operative, the super soldier power fantasy allows a player to feel like they are in the skin of an action hero. This core idea can be seen as a plethora of variants in RPGs. Gallant knights, berserking barbarians, and dashing swashbucklers are direct analogs, but things like wizards able to invoke devastating spells and scientists that create incredible machines provide the same level of power fantasy, just with a different skin. Not all power fantasies are based on granting abilities of dominance and violence, though. In a meme posted on Reddit as a wholesome power fantasy by Wonderboy Ahoy, there was a question posed by Tumblr handle Writing Prompts. In a game with no consequences, why are you still playing the good side? DeFlare's response was, because my no consequences power fantasy is being able to help everyone. Not all power fantasies are about raw power, and not all are about the self. In this case, the power fantasy is leaning heavily on something that is not possible in the messy and costly real world. Rather than escaping from biological or scientific reality, this power fantasy is escaping societal reality. The important part is the desire for active participation. Wrongs and injustices aren't ignored. A utopia isn't being written about, but the fulfillment of the unrealized desire to help everyone. The desire for a better situation is the power fantasy. Now, whether helping people is a better power fantasy than being a super soldier is arguable. Depending on individual perception and experience, either could be framed as wholesome or shallow, though, once again, factors do shift the leverage point. Both fill a need where our realities don't match our desires. Some realities can be called closer into line, though. Another common power fantasy is the smooth talker. The rogue who can talk their way past guards, the con artist, the diplomat. To be the person that everyone loves and listens to the moment you start speaking. Or at least, those are the characterizations we see that are drawn upon when the smooth talker power fantasy is employed. I and multiple of my past players have leaned into the smooth talker power fantasy while experiencing our own social anxieties. The character does what we feel we cannot. The odd thing about the smooth talker power fantasy when it comes to tabletop role-playing games is that the player escaping into it still has to speak. The super soldier escapist doesn't have to perform stunts. The helping people escapist doesn't have to monitor their philanthropy. But the smooth talker escapist still has to speak. Some tabletop games have better role-playing mechanical support than others, but to an extent, the smooth talker escapist still has to provide a direction. Usually, the player will RP out their character's interactions up to the point that they are comfortable with. Despite this player's power fantasy being the smooth talker, they themselves have to mime out that fantasy in the real world. And they are better for it. The power fantasy is to speak with assurance, to be listened to be socially confident. In a video game with algorithms and dialogue options, this would be escapism. In a TTRPG, this is practice. However little the player actually says, they still say something. However supported by the rules of the game, the rules remain supports only. The player has a goal they wish to be, and rather than escaping their reality to experience it, the game becomes a tool to express the concept. With continued expression and repetition, the idea gets better understood and defined. What may be considered a fantasy actually serves as a training space. The idea of role-playing games as a cultural space for growth of identity is what I want to come back to at another time. The major point I want to grab onto here is that a power fantasy isn't unattainable if you can understand where that desire stems from and find a game where you can touch it. Let's go back to the super soldier power fantasy. Do I want people running around blowing things up and killing everyone? No. No. Certainly not. If I had to tell you that, I'm glad I did. But then again, running around and blowing things up and killing everyone wasn't the definition I gave for the super soldier escapist desire. That was the expression. The core theme of the Super Soldier Power Fantasy is about being able to take action. When things are intense, danger seems to be all around, and you have people relying on you. The Super Soldier gets it done. It's a practice in focus, in objective, and in the refusal of doubt. Are all people that escape into first-person shooter video games wanting this practice? Certainly not. But for each power fantasy to escape into, there is some unmet desire feeding the pull towards it. An identified desire can lead to a fantasy turned reality. One of my players is currently playing an Oath of Glory Paladin. The character is empowered and emboldened by their own valor, strength, and, well, glory. The aura of their confidence and persona protects their party members. They have blocked blows by flexing them away. Though mechanically divine, the character serves no god. They are themselves their own patron. They act in their own name, and doing so empowers them to act in service to others. The player has already shared their backup character if needed. A Genasi warlock that seeks to become a genie. Once more, this character of a class that usually has an outside being bequeathing power has none. The Genasi contains elemental potential and seeks to continue to improve themselves and grow in their own right until that mustard seed is realized as the full tree it is destined to be. Two characters that can fulfill the same idea. To grow in self. To know that you are meant for greatness and to rise to meet that challenge. To you yourself be enough. Are these the intentions of the player? If so, are they an escape? Are they practice? I don't pretend to know that answer, but I think, at least for the lot of us, those are good ideas, whether to be escaped into or to be practiced. Role-playing games are an interactive narrative. The players get to touch the story, and if done mindfully, it interacts back. You have a say in the story, and you have a say in what you get out of it. RPGs can be greatly needed escapes and wonderfully expressive practice for what you want to become. Or they may just be a bit of stimulation to fight off boredom a little bit longer. Either way, this is my SendingKenku. Imagine great, big, wonderful, exciting things. And when you find that thing that bridges the gap between unfulfilled desire and reality, breathe life into it.